What's up, guys? It's Ben with 2020 election predictions, and today's video is going to be a scenario if the Electoral College is tied. And I want to show you why this is actually more likely in the 2020 election than I think in any election in modern American history. I mean, obviously in 2008, Barack Obama had the landslide, and in 2012, Obama won by a pretty hefty margin, and in 2016, Donald Trump won by a solid like 60 to 70 electoral votes. Um, but in 2020, I truly think it's going to be the closest election in modern American history. Obviously, 2000 between Bush and Gore is pretty close, but I think this election has the potential to be tied. So let me explain to you why. So right now, the JHK forecast has the election as a 65% chance that Joe Biden will win and a 35% that Donald Trump will win. And obviously, this projection is very early on. We have about 5 months until the election. And I also think this model is going to underestimate Trump just because the polls do, don't have him doing very well right now. And I think that is a reflection of our current political and economic situation with the coronavirus. I think as the country starts to reopen and as there's more focus to campaigns instead of just constant media coverage on the coronavirus, I do expect to see Trump's poll numbers to uptick. So with this bias in mind, and also like let's consider that in 2016 there was a bias in the polls towards Hillary Clinton and against Donald Trump. So let's assume that these same biases are in the works. So all the states that have Donald Trump over 40% chance of winning, I'm going to give to Donald Trump in my hypothetical electoral map. Okay, so North Carolina, as you can see, it's going to be very close, and let's just give it to Donald Trump right now, assuming that there's these biases. So we're going to give it to the Republicans, and I'm also in this map. I'm not going to do like the lean, tilt, or likely. I'm just going to fill it in solid red or solid blue. And then so at Pennsylvania, we have it where Joe Biden actually does have a significant margin over Donald Trump, so we're going to give that to Joe Biden. Democrat. Let's see. Michigan the same way. Michigan more so out of these three states that Donald Trump won in 2016. All right. Florida, 42% chance. So since it's over 40, I could very likely see this going to Donald Trump. In fact, in past videos, I've said I do think Florida's going to go to Donald Trump. Arizona, I just did a video about this. It's going to be the closest state. We're going to have this going to Donald Trump because he has an over 40% chance. In Wisconsin, which is the most friendly out of the Rust Belt states to Donald Trump, he has a 42.6% chance right now. So this could very easily go to the Republicans. So as you can see, right now we have a 268 tie, but this is not the sum of the Electoral College, which is 538. This actually adds up to be 536. And the reason is because we're missing two electoral votes that come from congressional districts. So the states of Nebraska and Maine have very weird rules in how they allot electoral college votes. And Donald Trump won these two districts very, very narrowly. Maine is Maine's second congressional district is more conservative than its first congressional district. It has a large, like, white working class population that's traditionally been very Democratic. But as we can see, Donald Trump is capable of winning it. He won this state, I think, by around 2 points in 2016, and I very well think he could win it again. Nebraska's second district, although the state of Nebraska at large is very conservative, this is kind of more of the suburban and urban congressional district. It's the smallest geographically speaking, but obviously all congressional districts are supposed to have the same population. But this is a district that has been traditionally Republican, but has kind of been trending towards the Democrats because it has kind of a large, like there's very highly educated, a lot of women, suburban voters, and we've seen them trending towards the Democratic Party. So very easily, Joe Biden could win this state, even though I think Donald Trump won it by around 3 points. So obviously, if these were two pure toss-ups, there would be a 25% chance that Joe Biden would win both of them, a 25% chance that Donald Trump would win both of them, or a 50% chance that they split them either way. I mean, that's just simple probability. So we can either do it either way. Let's say that Donald Trump wins, means second um, congressional district, and that Joe Biden wins the congressional district in Nebraska. And I do think this is very likely because I could see Donald Trump winning Wisconsin and losing Michigan and Pennsylvania simply because Wisconsin's more favorable. And Arizona, I could see Donald Trump very narrowly winning this while losing these states. And so it makes sense. It wouldn't make sense for Donald Trump to win Michigan and lose Wisconsin, but this is a very likely outcome. Um, and so as we can see, it's a 269-269 tie. So what happens here? So it's kind of buried in the Constitution, but what happens is it goes to the House, but it doesn't go to the House like you think it would. So how it what it would do is it for the presidential nominee, it would go to the House and it gives each state one vote depending on the majority of the House. Um, the majority of the House representatives in each state, and each state gets one vote. So this does help states that are heavily gerrymandered. And as we can see, that I'll do it. The Republicans actually have a small majority that could definitely change, but it's going to be going based off the 2018 midterm election results. So I'm going to fill in this map, and this is kind of a hypothetical Senate map, but I'm just going to give each state one vote. And so let's just fill in the Democratic states at first. It's kind of the traditional ones that you would say. Arizona actually has more Democratic seats right now. It's interesting because the 2018 midterms was kind of a wave year for them. But let's just keep on filling them in. It's kind of all the ones that you would expect. Obviously, just going down the coast, we can all these small districts. Virginia. I'm trying to see. And so, interesting enough, Iowa is actually Steve King, who's the really controversial one, is the only Republican um, congressman in Iowa right now. But I do expect this to change going forward. Hawaii. And I think that's all we have right now. Let me fill in the Republican ones now. It's kind of all the ones that you would expect. And so these are the states where Republicans have a majority of the House members. And like North Carolina, even though it's a swing state, it's heavily gerrymandered in favor of the Republicans. Um, even though it's changing a little bit, Wisconsin, and then Alaska. And Michigan and Pennsylvania are tied right now with Justin Amash. He's kind of the independent. I could see that going blue. And also in Pennsylvania, if Joe Biden were to win Pennsylvania like I had in the model, then I would actually expect one of the congressmen to cross over just because I think that would be the most fair way. But as you can see, if everything stays correctly and you don't have any crossover on congressmen, and you might see some outgoing Republican senators, like for example Will Hurd in Texas, or some other different ones crossover, but Donald Trump would be reelected president in a very narrow margin. And this is obviously assuming that there's no faithless electors. There's a Supreme Court case that's going to deal with this, I think, before the 2020 election. And I'm glad it's happening before then because this is a very likely possibility. I think more likely than pundits are going to expect. In 2016, we saw, I think, 7 faithless electors, but we didn't see any crossover electors. So we didn't see anyone go from Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump or Donald Trump to Hillary Clinton. And I hope we don't see any faithless electors in 2020 if this were to happen. I do think it is not very democratic. Not that this way is very democratic, doing it with the majority of House members, because it's not. I think that if this scenario happens, Joe Biden will very likely win the popular vote. But I just think because it's in the Constitution, and also the electoral college that allows for faithless electors is in the Constitution, but that will obviously be settled in the Supreme Court. And I don't think that either side is going to be in favor of faithless electors. I think Democrats right now in our current political situation would benefit more from faithless electors, but going forward, I hope that it does not become a partisan issue. And so, as I said, that's how the president gets elected. Because the Constitution is so weird, it was written a long time ago. The vice president would actually get elected by the Senate. And so, right now, this is my Senate projection um for uh for 2020. I could definitely see Maine and North Carolina going back to the Democrats, even though they're Republican incumbents. But right now, I do expect the Republicans to keep the Senate. This is kind of where I have it right now. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of things that could change. So if this scenario happens, that means that Mike Pence will become the vice president too. So obviously, this will cause much mayhem, but I do think it's a lot more likely than people are expecting now. It could be 270 to 268. Either way, too. I mean, that would cause mayhem. That would even be closer than the 2000 election. And I mean, our country stayed together during the 2000 election, but I think our country was a lot less polarized then. And obviously, that case went to the Supreme Court. If this happened in 2020, I really do think there would be riots in the streets, and it would just not be a good scenario. So hopefully, one of the presidential candidates will win by a more substantial margin. But I just want to warn y'all that this is a potential scenario. Whether you're a Trump or Biden supporter, I don't think this will be a very good outcome if it does happen, just because I think there would be a lot of accusations of fraud and blah, 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 especially just with all the rhetoric happening. But going forward, I want to look at this because, I mean, literally, I didn't change this model at all. All I said was if Donald Trump has a 40% chance more or greater, which I think is a potentially likely outcome, and it does account for some bias, then we have a tie. So I do think we should talk about that. And going forward, I will do updates on the videos on that too. So thank you all for watching, and please subscribe right here if you haven't. I'm going for 500 by the end of the month, so please tell your friends and family about that so that y'all can all be eligible for the giveaway and I can get monetized in the future. So thank you guys, and be on the lookout for the next video.